Well, one thing I wanted to tell you was about we left off talking about that story while you were on the airplane, and that actually was very impactful for me. Um, I started kind of using that like in my head, just like kind of treating like my emotional self as like a child, as a baby that I'm like nurturing and taking care of.
Mhm.
And even like sort of mentally using like a rocking back and forth, like kind of just like really like take like I'm taking care of you. Like this is what is like good for you.
Very good.
And it feels like it's like good to do it that way than like being critical.
Hmm.
And then also I would say I really started working on sort of my Shakespearean experience of the world, where you're where life is just a stage and you're observing and you put the script down. So I had a lot of problem with that initially, actually, because when you first told me to do that, I set like I would sit and try and just be with the body, and I would find it very difficult to kind of just watch the body generally, like just see what's going on generally,
Hmm.
and I would kind of like lose it. And I thought my concentration was better than that, but I would like lose it more often. But I got to a point where I can kind of just
Yeah,
like,
we generally have a higher opinion of ourselves than we actually deserve.
yeah,
And in fact, you deserve all the love and affection and whatnot that you can get. Not only can get, but a whole lot more of it, even than that. But we're still not up to that mental standard that we think that we are. That we all think that we're genius.
yeah. I think it's good to recognize like where you are, and
That's one
I,
of the things that many people say that it's humbling to recognize that they don't have control of their own mind. They can't think the thoughts that they want to think. They think something that from the past or whatever. That we're
yeah,
not in control. That the mind just does its own thing. It,
yeah.
it plays in its own pile of crap. That's what it does.
Even when you say that, there's like an emotional response to it, but I kind of bring in like that nurturing, like adult, like we're gonna figure it out, like we can do this, you know,
Mhm.
like even though that's the way it is, we're gonna weather the storm.
Yeah, we'll get by. Yeah, I know that this brain is only a human brain. It's nothing like I thought it was 35 years ago. But it'll do. It's fine. It's good enough.
Yeah,
Adequate.
yeah. Um. Anyways, like what I was saying about just watching the body, I kind of go to a place now where I don't necessarily like look for anything in particular, like go to a certain point in the body and just try and be on it. Instead, I kind of just like let it speak to me because there's like a lot happening. So it's like almost just like letting it show me what's going on,
Hmm.
but still like
You sound very British in your understatement when you say a lot's going on.
that's an understatement.
That is a true understatement by a long margin. There is a lot going on.
Sometimes there doesn't seem to be as much as other times, but other times there's a lot. It seems like.
Well, it depends upon how good we're paying attention to it.
Mm,
Things are hard to see when they're in the dark.
mm-hmm. Yeah,
And when we're not paying attention to it, that then is we try to put it behind us or whatever like that, and then we're not paying any attention to it at all. But the way of thinking it correctly is of the let us say something like billion nerve cells that you have that are part of your tactile sensation system. About 10% of them are firing all the time.
mm,
And when they start firing all in the same area, all in the same way, then you really start to notice it. But if you start really noticing it and studying it, you begin to see, hey, there's so much going on all the time. That
Yeah.
you can feel your butt on the chair, you can feel the bottom of your feet, you can feel the wind, the touch of the cloth. I mean, everything is there. All you have to do is look. Just turn the light on, the light of looking, and there is just so. I mean, there you go. Shoulder firing right on schedule. Right there.
I gotta watch myself around you.
Why?
uh,
Because I do.
yeah, that's. I want to get to that later, but
All right. So anyway, you've got a list of questions. Let's go for the questions. The first question is, I get tired of looking at the body because there's not much happening. Is that the question?
no, I wouldn't. Well, sometimes. Well, yeah, I was saying that sometimes there seems to be less happening than other times. But as you said, like as I look closer, I tend to find more. But I guess you could talk about that. Sure.
Okay. Well, what's your second question? I think that we just hammered that nail home.
Yeah, we did. Um, how about this is an easy one? I think the sitting posture, because I started off like when I first started meditating, I was kind of I never like believed that I needed to like sit on the floor. I thought sitting in a chair was fine, but I still wanted to have a very like straight back, like good posture, like chest, everything aligned properly. But I don't know,
Yes,
like
sitting
lately,
up straight in that is the only thing that the Buddha mentions.
really,
The issue about cross legged is simply because how else are you going to sit on the ground?
right.
Last night we had a birthday party here, about 25. Kitty's birthday, she just turned 8. Had about 5 or 6 kids and about 25 adults.
Hmm.
Big party time. Thai people sitting around. There was only one chair,
Yours?
the one I was sitting in, exactly. The grandfather, almost the godfather without the crime. But everybody else is sitting on the floor.
Hmm.
And many of them are sitting in better postures than your average or even best meditators in the West.
Mm.
Why is that? Because they've been sitting on the floor their whole lives and they know how. This is
Yeah.
Thailand.
Well, the thing is,
And
I don't
some of
even.
the girls were sitting in Burmese. I noticed it. Some of the girls were sitting in the Burmese. Some were sitting in the half lotus. A couple of them were sitting in the full lotus posture. And I was thinking, man, I ought to take some photos around here just to show these Westerners who are so jealous that these 14, 15, and 20-year-old girls, they sit in the lotus posture because it's a stable posture to sit in, not because they're trying to show off.
Yeah, I'm not interested in putting myself through all the work that it takes to get me there. I don't know if it's worth it.
Well, that's because you started with 25 years or so of bad posture.
Yeah.
And all
So I
you
mean
needed
that's
to correct your posture was the floor.
yeah. But that's the thing. So I mean I don't plan to go on the floor. I plan to keep using the chair. But
I'm not going to slap you. I don't care. You're okay with me. I don't care what posture you're in. In fact, that's why the Buddha mentions all of them. The only reason why the sitting posture is a sitting posture that gives people in the West the idea of a meditation posture is simply because that's the natural way of sitting when you're sitting on the floor.
yeah. I mean so the question
And yet,
is
and yet, when most Westerners are sitting, they've got inches or so above one or the other of the knees, or perhaps both of them, because they can't put their knees on the floor.
Mhm.
Why? Because they haven't exercised that way in so many years. But if you just do that every day, Even the fat girls, even the fat boy, he can sit in those postures because he's in Thailand. But the average Western young adult's going to go through so much misery. I know. I've been there. I've done that. I know what I'm talking about here. It was hard to sit. It took me years to learn to get both knees on the floor.
Mm.
And for what? I don't even sit on the floor anymore, so I don't even show off. I bet I can't do it. Well, actually, I do sit on the floor sometimes, but that's because the bottom row of of the server system is low enough that I need to sit down on the floor to get to it because it's about a foot off the floor. There's the first row. And so, yeah, I sit on the floor from time to time. I can still do it, but I don't do it because I'm trying to meditate or anything because I can meditate in any posture.
Do you have a pretty robust setup over there?
I wouldn't call it robust or even expensive, but it is in a way massive
Okay.
with about 7 servers, a
Wow.
total of about 100 and so terabytes.
That's a lot of videos. Is that what you got on there?
Yep. That's what
That's
takes that kind of stuff is videos, exactly.
right. Wow. That's awesome. And so my question about the chair was that like I kind of stopped sitting in the chair and I kind of just switched over to the couch. And when I'm in the couch, I'm like this,
But that's going too far.
too far back.
Well, it actually is uncomfortable, and you will get too mobile. This is the whole part about when you sit up straight, then your chest can breathe well. That you want to make sure that you're sitting in a posture, and when you're on a couch, that normally, especially if you've got a big butt and it collapses in, and we get all
Yeah.
out of or either so what we want to do is the couch is not really good or designed for sitting up straight, but a chair is great.
Hmm. Okay. So I think I might switch back to the wooden chair and sit up straight.
Hmm.
Not a big deal. I've been only doing like 10, 15-minute meditation sessions anyway, so it's not an issue. Um,
Well, that's what I would recommend. That the general mentality, and I know where it came from. It all got started from everybody was a copycat of Goenka.
mm,
I was with Goenka for about 3 years in India, so I know all about that.
mm.
And that sitting for an hour is torture for a lot of people. That's why he eventually calls it a strong determination sitting, is because it takes work. Because the legs get tired, they go to sleep, the tendons start to stretch, and people are put into postures that they can go into, but they can't maintain. It's almost like a ballerina that that is still standing on one toe with her arms like this, but she's not spinning anymore. And how long does she stand on that one toe? 3, 5 seconds, 10 seconds, enough to make the whole audience go gaga. But she can't stand that way. She doesn't walk around on the top of her tiptoe.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, right. So that's the problem with the sitting postures and the sitting too long. Not only that, but it's quite well known that the attention span is only about 20 minutes at the best of times. But in fact, it takes a lot of focus, and that's one of the reasons why we do this for an hour is to start getting the students to focus their minds on what we're talking about for a long time. Bhikkhu Buddhadasa was really, really excellent at those long, long talks. He would start talking on about once a month or more often, start about 2 o'clock in the morning and go till sunrise. And he could do it for about 4 hours.
Wow. Talking?
Talking, right, talking Dhamma. And many of them were at least prepared enough that it followed a particular subject. And sometimes his talks would take 3 nights to talk just to cover one topic.
Why would he do it overnight?
Oh, that's because it's a history of that the monks stay up on that night, the Paddy Monk, once a
Okay.
month, sitting up all night. And
I
so he's
saw
there
something
for
about you doing
entertainment.
a 24-hour sit. Was that real? In
I'm
November?
in what? Sorry, what is this?
I was looking at like the website. I saw an email about your website, and on the website it said something about a 24-hour sit that you were hosting. I don't know, like on Skype. Maybe it was just like an example text. I don't know, or something like that.
I don't know anything about
That would be
it.
extreme.
um, but sometimes the monks sit up all night.
Yeah,
But that doesn't mean that they sit still in one posture as a sitting meditation all night. They'll do some chanting and then they'll do some sitting, and monks will take breaks, and some of them will take a nap and come back after an hour's nap and that kind of thing. It's all very friendly and everybody's easygoing and nobody's pointing fingers and no one is trying to keep track and no one is gaga over how long that monk sits or any of that kind of competition that you find in the West.
yeah.
It's just easy.
I really
There's
like the analogy that you just used though with the ballerina because it makes a lot of sense. Like she's not posing there and then staying in that pose and walking around throughout her daily life. She's doing it like in that time as like a purpose, to wow the crowd, and then walks normally. But
hmm
she still has her ballerina grace in her life, right?
Yes, she still has that grace. Well, guess what? That's what we call nobility, is a grace of living.
That's exactly where the next question was going to go,
Okay.
which
All right.
is which is about. I just started to notice that um, I would say like yesterday I had a really good day. Like I meditated. I really broke up my day a lot with the 10-minute sessions. I kind of did like a longer session in the morning, but then I broke up my day a lot, like every single hour almost. Maybe missed a couple hours here and there, but like just because I wanted to. I don't know. But and then today I noticed that like I didn't do that as much. Like I didn't do as much meditation. And but not only that, but like I kept doing things that really like sucked my attention in. And so like all of my sati would go away. And whereas like all the other previous days in the week, like I would kind of keep sati going, or I kind of keep remembering, kind of keep my head like above water sort of. But like I just realized like today, like I really feel like I feel like I noticed that it's really easy, or once I like let that sati go for like a really long time, like I just find myself stuck there kind of, or like I don't, it's harder to get out of it. I don't know. I'm not sure if I'm trying to say it's harder to get out, but like I'm just trying to say like I want to be like more in sati more often because it's like so much less pleasant. And then when I wake up and like I come back to it and like I just sat there, it's like wow, I should have been doing that all day. Like this is so much better, And like I want to like get to a place where
You
I'm
already at that
doing it more.
place. That's the whole point. Stop wanting to get someplace. Stop wanting to get someplace. Cheer
Yeah.
up now. You've heard that old song, cheer up, things could get worse. I cheered up, and sure enough, things got worse. You didn't hear that one. Okay. Well, that's the joke. The whole point is that it doesn't matter what's going to happen in the future. The point is can you cheer up right now?
I like that one. I'm gonna keep that in mind. That's a good one. Cheer up. It's how do you say it again? Cheer up. It's gonna get like it could get worse, and then I cheered up, and it still got worse. But you cheered up.
But I
Doesn't
cheered
matter. You
up.
cheered up. There you go. Oh, I like that. Yeah.
Because we don't know what the future is going to be. And we know that the past is gone. There's nothing that we can do about the past other than give it up.
Yeah.
because it's dead.
Yeah, I understand that, but I still want to say, like, okay, there's certain things that I do in my life that I do that I know are likely to kind of put me in a place where it's going to be a little bit more difficult to have sati, you know, and kind of want to
Well,
like,
that's just an opportunity to go have some sati while you're doing it. Take sati as a side dish for anything you eat.
yeah, sati side dish.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's time to wake up. It's better to wake up and look at what you're doing, turn the lights on, and watch what's happening rather than go around stumbling in the dark, thinking we remember how things should be.
It's a right effort situation. That's what it is.
hmm So the analogy is that you're in the dark, it's late at night, you don't want to turn the lights on, you got to go to the toilet, and you go from where you are to the toilet, and
Mm.
on the way to the toilet, you stub your toe on a piece of furniture. Now, the question is, did you stub your toe out of ignorance, or did you stub your toe out of delusion?
I think I already know the answer to that one. I think it's delusion. It's
Yeah,
delusion. Yeah.
because we thought we knew where the furniture was.
Mm. You don't know. You have to look.
Right, we don't know where it is. It's time to turn the lights on before we go to the toilet. We may stump our toe.
Yeah.
And yet we go around living in a past thinking that it's the present instead of living in the real present moment.
One thing I've been noticing in my meditations is that, like the sati, how we talked about there's levels to sati,
Mm-hmm.
or sometimes I don't even know if it's just levels. Sometimes I feel like it's just remembering the right the right things.
Yeah, that's it. You have two levels. Then you don't remember nothing. Then you recognize that what's going on is wrong. That's the first step from zero. But
Yeah.
then we can't see what's better than that or the higher point.
Yeah.
Okay,
Exactly.
so we sort of halfway wake up. When we wake up into bed, we don't wake up enough to get out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Later, we wake up fully enough to actually get out of bed.
Yeah. Like one concrete example of that is, for example, I can be on the body, or maybe not even be on the body, but I could be in the state of a Bodha, saying Bodha, like doing that, where I could just be feeling good, like working with the feelings. And then it's like, oh, okay, well, the body, you could work on that too. But then I'll come in, I'll say, wait a minute, I could also work on it. This is like the kind of like the next step for me, it seems like, is um, like not comparing moment by moment and letting like the moments be more um, discrete, if you know what I mean. Like, instead of like,
You mean what meat looks like after you've taken a meat cleaver to it? Is that what you mean? Just chop stuff up.
yeah,
Guess
yeah,
what? It's been this present moment for at least the last 13 billion years, and it's the same moment. Here it is. No need to chop
yeah,
it up. Actually, you can't chop up this present moment. All you can do is do the chopping in your own mind.
yeah. So you think so? So why do you think that I'm getting like kind of that experience where it's like just like trying to, I don't know. Um, it kind of gives the sensation of like not comparing moments. It's like, okay, like just like let be with this one here, like be with this one right now. I don't know. It makes you think a lot about the Adam and Eve description that you give about how that's about like not judging like moments,
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
And so that's another level of sati for me that comes in. It's like, wait a minute, like I could enjoy this moment even more if I don't compare it to the other moment. That's like the next like remembering, waking
That's it.
up.
This moment is good.
Mm-hmm.
Right now is
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
That's it. Things are fine just right now.
Yeah. I one thing I wanted to ask you about too was I've been talking to my dad a lot about like this stuff. I mean, he's like a Christian, like more of a Christian, but I've been trying to talk to him about like the super mundane approach in like Buddhism and like in the world and the Dharma. And I've been trying to tell him about like the different Bible quotes that I've been hearing you like talk about that I think are like super mundane rather than like, for example, the Adam and Eve one. And then also one that like really stuck with me was that maybe you could give me a explanation of what it means is the one where like Jesus says that man has like the fox has the fox den and the bird has the bird's nest and man has no place to rest his head.
The
And I
Son of Man, he's referring to himself as the Son of Man, just like the Buddha referred to himself as the Tathagata. That's why the Greek was translated as the Son of Man has no place to lay his head, which means Jesus himself has no home. He is a wanderer. And the wanderer is in the spirit of the Buddhist monk, the bhikkhu, the wandering monk.
mm,
So that's the reference that birds have their nests and the foxes, the fields have their dens, but the Son of Man, the Son of Man, has no place to rest his head.
mm. I thought that had something more to do with like um
Gosh,
having to
ownership of
have
property is a really big deal in our culture. And for
no
Jesus to say that he's a wanderer, that's a very, very big deal.
yeah.
They've
I
even
was
got
I was
laws against it in the United States.
also the what I was getting from it was like kind of more like how an animal like a bird and like a fox like kind of has that den in that nest in a way and
They're
like just
doing
like
it
pretty they're
instinctually.
simple animals and whereas like the man is like we have to have like this sati in order to be free like we have to be constantly like being awake we have to put right effort in we have to be present to the moment
Because
and we can't
otherwise we
rest.
will crawl back into our hole for safety.
Yeah,
Otherwise, we'll spend half the year building a nest.
yeah.
Okay? The actually here's the much more important part of the story. It's not that the foxes have the holes because um, they're smart or intelligent, but whether the foxes have the holes because they're fearful, they're afraid, and they want to hide. This is what we call the nesting instinct. It's one of the four primary instincts that we have. And I use that example often, but it's not just mammalian, or it's not the mammals, because birds flock that way.
Hmm. And
And
fish.
fish school that
Yeah.
way. Exactly. Why do fish school the way they do? For protection. And the inside of the school or the inside of the herd, this is exactly why the sheep herd together. When the dog is barking, the sheep act like it's a pack of wolves. In fact, there's only one dog and he's just barking. He doesn't bite.
Hmm.
But they herd together out of instinct. If any of those sheep had half a brain, he would start talking to each other. Hey, that dog, every one of us is bigger than that dog. Why don't four or five of the big sheep just go surround that dog and pay attention to the dog and maybe give him a bath or something, and everybody else can be free? But oh
Yeah.
no, the barking dog then gets everybody into a herd. And so
Hmm.
your politicians like Trump and Biden, they're only barking dogs, and all the people they will collect or herd into a party and go vote because that's what the dog wants them to do. He barks this way and he barks that way, and he comes around, he gets them in the herd, and then he gets them to the gate, and they have to go vote that way. All together as a herd. And we learned that from the foxes and the birds from our deep, deep past. And so this thing is actually deeper. That was a parable that goes so deep that very few of the people in the time understood exactly what Jesus was talking about. Is that he's coming out of the instinctual urge to hide
Yeah.
and be free. Do not be afraid to wander around it because the world's a safe place. It's lovely.
Wow.
It's just in need of some nurturing.
Yeah, that's true. I've
But
been
we
thinking
are
about.
but that's wisdom. Wisdom is saying that this is a safe place. Instinctually, the self-preservation instinct with our herding instinct and our nesting instinct is saying no, oh no, it's dangerous.
Yeah.
That we've got to hide. We monkeys have to go build a nest of leaves and high in the tree to keep the panthers away. We hide from them. Therefore, if any young monkey is crying and crying, if the mommy can't shut him up, the big monkey in the crowd's going to throw that monkey out and let him fall to the ground and take care of himself because it's dangerous to keep a crying monkey in the nest.
Really? I didn't know they did that. Wow.
It's been seen. What's her name? The very famous one said that she's saw that. Gorillas in the Mist. That movie.
Wow. That's. I guess fear will do it to you, huh?
Well, fear will do anything for us.
Everything. Everything,
Let's say
actually.
if you've got Nazis at the door
Yeah.
and that little Jewish baby is crying, that mother will suffocate that baby to get it to shut up.
Wow.
Fear will do that. That's what the nesting instinct is all about. Is we've got to hide. We've got to get together and get into a small group and protect ourselves. This is all self-preservation stuff, and it's instinctual. And we should be, as human beings now, beyond instincts. We've got a culture.
Yeah.
100,000, 200, 600,000 years ago, the world was really a dangerous place. It's not dangerous now.
Yeah.
You
That leads
don't
us into
have
my.
any lions in your yard. There are no alligators in your sewer. You do not have a python around your neck.
Yeah.
There are no poisonous spiders. You live a safe life. You don't have even the mafia or the police banging on your door. But yet we still have this uneasy feeling that things are not right. And we've got to make things safe.
Yeah. And does that get overcome at a certain point, or is it,
Yes. And the trick is that the safety and the security is built upon nurturing as opposed to criticism. The criticism says something's wrong, something's dangerous, something needs to be done. And the nurturing says, down, boy, they're there now. Don't worry. Everything is cool. Relax. That's what is Anapanasati is to gladden the mind, cool off, relax. That's exactly what the word Nibbana means. It just says, cool, baby, cool.
I think that there's a problem because, many people like probably practice Anapanasati and they practice it, even though you could read it gladden the mind and you could read it cool down the mind, but some people are probably gonna, and even myself, I feel like that's where I was. I mean, I'll speak for myself. Um, was at a place where it was like, you know, you got to do this, you got to get glad in the mind. Like criticizing
Yeah,
you to
you're
glad.
going to criticize, right? Exactly.
Right.
We that is the propensity that, in fact, that comes out of the nesting instinct, and that I think that it's gotten much worse as society is gone along, in the sense that we wind up being critical of the very best stuff. I mean, you can even criticize angel food cake. And you can equally criticize devil's food cake. And so we wind up being critical most of the time. Now, in some cases, criticism makes the product better, but it doesn't make the worker better.
No, no, it doesn't.
What we need is we need
But the
to get
product
back.
is an extension of fear, isn't it?
Yes,
It's a tool.
especially it's actually a weapon.
Yeah,
Everything you own is a weapon, even the cell phone.
it's my favorite weapon here.
Yeah,
That
that's
was
your
my next
that.
topic.
Hmm.
I want to let go of the weapon. It's one of my, I don't know, but yeah, I feel like it's a weapon to myself.
Hmm. Well, I have heard it so much so that the lady will say, "Well, I've got my cell phone, therefore I'm safe. I can walk down this blind alley, and if there's a guy there, I that I'm afraid of, I'll just dial 911." Right. And while she's got the nine dialed, he's grabbed her phone, and before she gets the one dialed, he'll hit her. But she feels safe with the cell phone. Yeah, that's exactly how we do. It's a false sense of security, but is covering up the fact that the insecurity is real. That we live insecure lives.
Hmm.
So you can ask, what is it that you, every time you pick up the cell phone, ask yourself, what is it that you want from this cell phone that you don't already have in your mind?
I mean, I've been spending a lot of time on like some pretty entertaining YouTube videos. I'll tell you that much. Entertainment is what I'm thinking, you know. But when I sit down, it's a different story. It's lovely.
All right. Well, one of the things that you can do is you can watch the YouTube videos thinking thoughts like, I should be meditating now instead.
It's not a good thought.
Well,
Or is it?
um,
I don't
it's
think so.
not meditation because it's a should.
It's critical.
That in fact you can, while watching the video, you can close your eyes and take a deep breath. I am not that video, but I don't care whether it's playing or not.
Yeah.
That in fact most people don't even watch a video much. They'll turn it to something else and start reading while they're watching or listening, and then they're not getting anything out of either one of them other than time structure.
Yeah, that's basically what it is. Honestly, it makes the time like I don't know. So you just how am I gonna burn this time away without it being so?
Uh, the answer to that is do something that you actually enjoy doing rather than merely burning it down. Take the moment, let it linger, let it last.
Hmm, yeah,
The fact is many people, we don't like this present moment because of the way we feel. So we're trying to escape the way we feel, escape into a video. So it's not necessarily a matter of entertainment for sure, 100%.
yeah.
But it's the fact that when we pick up that cell phone, it's because we want something.
You know, one thing. It's more like so what you're describing there. Of we want something in that moment. I notice that when I maybe am hungry or tired after a long day of work, it's easier to slip into that. Than to go and why is it easier to go and do that than and time structure in that than go and do something I actually enjoy?
Hmm? That's a good question to ask. That's a good question. Another alternate question that's exactly like that is, can I enjoy what's happening right now without having to go get something?
Hmm. I mean, there is a still having to. I feel there's still a kind of a having to get something, because to start, I need to get some oxygen, right? I need to get a deep breath.
Yeah,
And
but you
some
don't have to go do anything to get a breath. In fact, I bet you can't even stop your body from breathing. There is that breathing meditation. It's called the breathless meditation. That's when you take your fingers, you put your thumbs in your ear, the index fingers over your eyes, and the others you use to close the mouth and the nose.
really,
Yeah, and how long can you go?
not very long. Not very long.
The Buddha could do it until he passed out.
Really. Have you ever seen anyone
Some
do that?
I've heard stories of kids trying it and doing it, but the Buddha stopped doing it
So the
because it
Buddha
was.
was just like the Michael Jordan of all this stuff, right? He could he
Yeah,
could
he
do it
was.
all.
Yeah, that's a good example, right? The Buddha was the Michael Jordan of everything basketball in the 2,500 years ago time. He tried it
Yeah.
all the austerities, all of the meditations, all the yogas, all the breathing, everything. And he was the best at every one of them.
How did he how did he not struggle with this time
He
structure
did.
job
He
that we're
did. He did. He did struggle. That was the whole point. He had a palace. He had an all-girls band.
yeah.
He was a master at elephant training. He was an archer. He could do everything. He was literally the Michael Jordan. He even knew the Rig Vedas and all that kind of stuff because he had good education.
What's a Rig Veda?
That's the old Hindu stuff, or
Yeah.
the old Upanishads, the Vedas.
Mm.
That's what they call it. All right. So from 800 BC onwards, there was several hundred years of they just wrote so much ridiculous stuff.
Upanishad rings a bell. Like I feel like I've heard of that, but it seems like the West, like and we say it's ridiculous, but like I feel like there's Westerners practicing that stuff right now. It's like that's their thing.
That's because they're all unhappy people.
Yeah.
Yeah, always wanting something. So they tried all the sports and all the universities and all the psychology, and that still wasn't enough. All the religions, and so now they got to go to the other side of the world and pick through another religion. There's got to be a pony and all of that horse shit someplace.
This is one hell of a world, man.
And
Wow.
so the Buddha was caught up in all of that stuff too. And he came to the point of, wait a minute, what I am practicing here, I can't even get out of a stream. He'd gotten so weak doing the austerities that he recognized that that's not the right way to go.
Yeah.
That he should be, in fact, he was robust and healthy. And so why doesn't he get back to that state?
How did he get
But
out of the stream, by the way?
I guess he crawled out.
Oh wow. The lion.
Well, that was before the lion. That I guess that was the lowest of the sheep could go.
Mm. Yeah.
And that's when he began to put together all of the best parts of what he had learned to come to understand that really what he was looking for all of this time was why he felt dissatisfied. That's dukkha. That's what it means, dissatisfying. Everything is dissatisfying. Nothing is satisfactory. Always a higher goal, always a higher mountain to climb,
Mm.
always another bone to break, if
Mm.
you're into that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Always another muscle to pump up.
Why not just be happy right now?
Why not be happy now? Exactly.
Why not just be happy now? That's just like, wow. I mean, I
The
see it.
answer is because by now we've gotten ourselves into such a bad habit of being unhappy that we have to keep remembering and turn it around. This is what sati is all about, is to
Yeah.
wake up, look at what you're doing, recognize that this is just more criticism, this is just more unwholesome stuff, this is just more Myra, this is just more delusion. But now we wake up to the point of, aha, I am not that Myra. Aha, I see you, Myra. Out it goes, brighten the mind. We come to a state of satisfaction. We know that we can do this for so many times. We've become successful at it. And that's when the right attitude kicks in. And now the right attitude is, I can do this. No matter how bad I feel right now, I can start taking some deep breaths and come out of that mind state. And I can come back into a state of happy, wholesome, I can handle this anytime I want to. Anytime I remember that I can feel good, I can. That's the Lions, the winner. I am, in fact, in charge. One of the ways that we talk about it, and a student gave me this one. He said, everyone is an emperor of their own pile of dirt. And I think that's brilliant. We are. Everyone is an emperor of their own pile of dirt. Which means if they're the emperor and they can't manage their pile of dirt, who or what can? So, are you going to be underneath the weight of all your own pile of dirt, being suffocated and smothered by it? Are you in the state of trying to crawl out of it? Are you merely just going to sit on top of it, being on top of your own world?
You know, I'm trying that right now as we talk.
You have
Um,
to
there,
remember, yeah,
yeah,
I'm the emperor here. I'm the one who runs this feeling factory.
yeah. It's like I have like this itch right here, and I'm feeling it, and I'm like,
I'm
there's like
strong
a
enough. I don't have to scratch that itch. That's
yeah,
instinctual to scratch an itch. That's why scratches grow into sores
yeah. Well, it's like
because we
there's
pick
an
at them.
itch
They're
there.
not good enough. I want it better, and I'm going to scratch at it and dig with it with my claws like a dog digs in a hole trying to find a bone. It's
Yeah.
instinctual.
So what I want to ask you about that though is there's an itch there, right? And then I have like a feeling come up about like so once I don't scratch it, there's more so this feeling that comes up is like I like I don't like this. And then but what I just did was like I'm the emperor of this amount of dirt and I just said like I can be okay with that or I can be like can I be satisfied with that I don't like that.
Oh, or you can nurture it. Instinctually, we scratch at it, and
Mm-hmm.
then we restrain ourselves to keep from scratching it, and then we wisely decide what to do, which may mean that you might want to gently massage it a little bit,
Okay.
nurture it, or you can take the lion's position of, hey, I can handle that. There's nothing to it. It's just a little scratch. It's only an inch big. I'm bigger than that itch. That itch does not run my life. It does not motivate my hands. I do not have to take care of it. It's very much like the restraint that let us say, a large, powerful nation in the wars of nations and whatnot like that. That sometimes there's incidents, and the president or the guy in charge or the big generals or whatever have to have some restraint
Mm,
because they know if they go tit for tat, they're going to wind up in a war with nations.
mm-hmm.
But at
Yeah.
the local level, we don't have that wisdom. And so we'll go right tit for tat with somebody, and the next thing you know, we're in war called an argument.
Mm,
Can't
mm.
restrain ourselves.
That's my next question right there. But yes, I see that. My next one was gonna be about like being a lion. But I see what you're saying now. Like if you're just like a tick on the lion, I'm not gonna give you any mind, pay you any mind, right? Like, but your
Well,
question's
it's certainly not going to allow it to take over.
okay. Yeah. So I mean, it was gonna be about like kind of like how the Buddha was, passive, but like the lion aspect, and kind of like not being a pushover is what I wanted to get at. Like, how do you make all those things work together? Not being a pushover, but not allowing other people to control you. Those things, but you know,
But aren't they
with the
exactly
passivity.
the same thing? They're exactly the same thing in the sense that, and this is well known in the let us call it the shyster community, or the P.T. Barnum had the exact word for it. There's a sucker born every second. Okay,
Who's
so
PT
what
Barnum, by the way?
P.T. Barnum, Barnum and Bailey Circus, the circuses that used
Oh
to
yeah.
travel? Yeah, okay. P.T. Barnum, that's the guy who said, and that's what a circus is. A circus goes from town to town because the people in that town really do get tired of it after a week.
Mm,
He has to keep moving because people don't buy his show. They buy it when it comes new until they figure out what it is, and then they don't keep going. All
yeah.
right.
Until maybe next
But
year.
his
Something
And
like
so that's his style, is the sucker's born every minute. He doesn't have to keep trying to sell the same stuff to the same crowd. But the point is that the other part of that is that you cannot um, hoodwink or let us say rob an honest man. Why? Because the way that they get uh, people in with the sucker punch or the bait and switch is to get their greed up. So they want something. They offer you a great big prize if you give them a little bit of money, and so they keep getting a little bit of money from a whole lot of people. This is also called the pyramid schemes and whatnot. Okay, so the sucker, there's a sucker born every minute or every second, uh, puts into, but you can only uh, rob them with their permission. A wise man, you can't rob him. He doesn't want anything. So he's not going to buy your song and dance or your sales pitch.
yeah.
Okay. So that's going in the direction of your question about that the wise man is not going to be a pushover. It's hard to sell him anything. But he's not going to then chase you down the street in anger when he figures out that he's been ripped off. He knows you're trying to rip him off in the first place. That's why he didn't buy into it. He just happily boogies on down the road.
I mean, anything that can be sold to you for the most part, besides like maybe food, is like falls in that category.
No, food's probably the number one item in that category. Do you see what they do to it in the United States?
Good
Do
point.
you have
Well,
any idea what Kraft and Tyson do with the food that you would have gotten if they hadn't gotten to it?
well, we got to eat, so
Yeah, but we don't have to eat the way that they want to feed us because they're not interested in feeding us. They're interested in making as much money off of us as they can. It's business.
yeah.
A mommy will feed you. A mommy has compassion. A mommy has nutriment and nourishment to give. But Kraft, they got a box of stuff to sell you.
I need to
Uh,
find me a mommy
That's
to make me these
that's
meals.
that's one of the reasons that I like Thailand is because the food is here is a whole lot better.
Yeah,
The
I'm a
eggs are
big
much more
Thai food
tasty.
guy, but that's American. I don't know. I like Thai food here in the states.
Well, the
Uh,
Thai food that you get in the United States is Americanized. The real Thai food, if you want real Thai food, you got to go to a Thai Wat
oh,
in
really?
America. Yeah, that's where you get the real Thai food, is the
Yeah.
food that they bring to the monks. And that's especially true that there's a story about it, that in London, the Thai Wat in London
Hmm.
is well cared for by a family who own one of the fanciest Thai restaurants in London.
Mm.
But the food that they give to the monks has nothing to do with any of the stuff that they've got on the menu that they call Thai food. They don't feed it.
Yeah. That's the same with all the, like Chinese food in New York City is,
It's not Chinese. You can't sell any of that stuff on the streets of China.
no,
But you could not sell the stuff that they sell on the streets of China in New York.
no, you could not. But I'll tell you one thing: that Chinese food in New York is,
Roast rat, for instance, is not appetizing to the average New Yorker.
yeah, no. Um, so going back to that, no, I'm trying to get to it because we talked about the pushover thing. But what about, like, I understand that, like, from a perspective of selling something, like, I guess you could translate that into a conversation, right? But I'm talking about, like, maybe like a verbal sparring, like somebody wants to, like, chirp you or something like that, or like, you know what I mean?
But you can be honest with them in a very happy, joking, nurturing way.
Okay.
Like, hey, man, I don't need none of that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess that'll work.
Yeah, hey, man, I don't need any of that.
Hmm.
I
Um.
hope I hope you can sell that stuff someplace, but I don't need any of it.
Yeah. What are they trying to sell you? The persona.
Well, one of the things that we can talk about, and I hope to at a later time, because there's so much to cover with this. Um, but when we're really, really young, we are nurtured by our mom. Mom gives us a nurturing that also has a lot of brain chemically stuff that, in fact, is well known. That Oxycontin is a chemical made out of
Oxytocin.
opium, oxycontin. Uh, there's a brain chemical that sounds very similar to that, that is the chemical that's released in the brain for moms nurturing young infants. And
Okay.
so moms get really gushy and lovey-dovey and all of that with their infant babies, and it rubs off to everyone. If you go to a hospital where the mom is and she's receiving her baby, that's a gushy moment for everybody in the ward.
Hmm.
It's a really beautiful, lovely moment. You take the infant home, you care for it, you nurture it, you feel really, really good about it, but that only lasts about 5 years or so. And
Mm.
then we start telling that kid, hey, you ought to sit down and shut up. Why don't you start running your ABCs? You do what you're told to do. And then is when we get really critical of our kids. And so that child then starts to grow up not in the environment of being nurtured and cared for and loved, but now there's a whole bunch of rules for him to follow, and a lot of woulds and shoulds and a lot of criticism. And so we spend the next 15 to 30 years in a mental criticism world rather than in a nurturing world. And we all go around criticizing each other, and every one of us wants nurturing, and nobody gives anybody any nurturing because we're all critical with each other, competitive rather than cooperative.
Yeah. I got something there. Like, so as soon as a child is old enough to receive the fare, you start giving it to him.
Hmm. As soon as he's smart enough to figure out that he can be beat into submission,
Yeah. Yeah.
they do. Okay. And so we deal with that the rest of our lives until we come out of it. And what we're really longing for is the nurturing we got when we were still in diapers. Guess what? We can. But you have to give it to yourself now. You can nurture yourself. Hey, this is good. Goo goo gaga. Let me
I
see a
was
little smile on your face. That's what we do with kids. Let's try to cheer them up. We nurture them. Okay, we'll start nurturing yourself.
yeah. I was literally like, okay, when I was before I called you, I was like in my meditation, and I was like, almost like when I was doing like the Boda thing, because it's such like a simplistic, like childish thing to say. I was kind of like almost imagining like a kid like Bo, like da, like be sad, like be restful now, like
Mm-hmm.
relax, and then Bo, like really happy,
Da, da.
yeah, or like almost like I'm entertaining like a little kid.
That's exactly correct. That's what everybody wants. We want nourishment and we want an easy life, but we have criticized ourselves into being critics.
Mm-hmm.
And now we go around with a critical mindset. And the whole point of the teaching of the Buddha is let's turn that back around and be really easy on ourselves. Let's start watching for that criticism. Let's
Yeah.
start noticing that we're having unwholesome thoughts and start letting the thoughts be wholesome,
Mm-hmm.
loving, gushy, delightful, bright, and easy. But we have to look at what we're doing.
So, my next question is kind of interesting. It was about unwholesome music. What do you think about that?
Unwholesome music is best avoided. And one of the most unwholesome qualities of music is when somebody else is doing it and you're the audience
Mm,
so that it's entertaining. An example of that is what's happened in the Christian churches is that they have gone from community singing, everybody sings along in the hymns, to stage presence performances with Grammys and pop stars and musical instruments and all of that kind of stuff on the stage.
okay.
They've gone from participation of music into a an entertainment where somebody else is doing it. This
Well,
is what the
now,
Buddha
well,
was
it seems like
against. He was against not the Gita itself, but that you went to hear someone else or watch them dance or play music, the entertainment quality of it.
okay.
That in
Yeah.
fact, the chanting is all music, everything is music. Even the Hindus call the universe Leela. It's a dance, and the
Mhm.
dance is the music of the spheres. Everything is music.
I have two questions.
Everything is a jig. Let's dance a jig. Everything is a waltz. The monks chant. The chanting is music. Bodham Saranam Gachami. Dhammam Saranam Gachami. That's music. Ipitiso Bhagava Araha Samma Sambuto Ijjhana Sampano. That's music. You can put the words down and then you can put the score up.
Yeah.
Some words are long, some are short, some of them are high, some of them are low, and it's all music. Everything is music. The Buddha is not against music, but you ask the right question. What about unwholesome music? Some music is wholesome. In fact, life is music. So you can put music in the same classification as we do thought, in the sense that there is wholesome thought and wholesome music, and wholesome music promotes wholesome thought and promotes wholesome good feelings. And unwholesome music um, is a lot of it has to do with mood, but a lot of music is unwholesome because it gives unwholesome thoughts and unwholesome feelings. An example is funeral music. Funeral music that goes with a funeral is designed to make you feel bad, feel
Mhm.
low, feel sad. Tearjerker music. Na, 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 na. Na, 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 na. Okay,
You
why
know,
don't
people
they?
like that. You ever heard the Halo music?
Not, no, I
You know what
haven't.
that is?
Not sure what that is.
It's a video game.
Mm.
It's like I don't know if I want to try it. It's like a like I don't know.
No,
It's kind of funny because like it's like this kind of classical like sound, but like teenagers like it because it's in the video game. You know, I don't know. There's like a funny YouTube video of like these kids in the bathroom like singing it.
uh,
Anyways, no, so
well, singing it in the bathroom, that's wholesome music because you feel
yeah,
good when you're
that's a
doing
good
it.
time.
Hmm. But
So, but
gangster rap on the radio, that's got a different quality to it.
yeah, that's what it was
How
about.
about Mick Jagger with the song "Can't Get No Satisfaction"? I can't get no satisfaction. He sings it
Yeah.
with full of satisfaction, though. It's a very satisfying song itself, but the words, no satisfaction.
So is that unwholesome?
Um, I'll let you decide that for yourself.
That's a tough one. It feels nice to listen to it,
Okay,
but the words are not wholesome at all.
that's right. So maybe we can give it a miss. Find something better.
So, about that though, because you said that like okay, no matter if the music is good or if it has wholesome words in it or not, it's still unwholesome because you're listening to it and you're not singing it. That's what I was getting from that.
Hmm. All right. So you can imagine then that a violinist or someone who has been a student of violin and knows a lot about violin music and knows a lot about the fingering of a violin can then sit and watch a YouTube video of a world class musician playing something like the Tchaikovsky violin concerto, watching every move, being awed by the superior quality of this musician and really get into the music.
Yeah.
And now you're in it. That's what we're talking about is getting into the music rather than it's just in the background
You know
or
what?
it's
So that's because what I was gonna do is gonna connect the idea that um viewing the music in that way in the background, or I mean sometimes you could listen to it and really like it. Like I could listen to I Can't Get No Satisfaction and really like it, although
mhm.
there's unwholesome aspects to it. Or I could listen to a song with wholesome words and still like it, but just listening to that song, for example, like make take a popular song like the Pharrell like Happy song. Have you heard that? Like
No,
sing
but
along
I
if you
go ahead.
feel like
Huh?
sing along if you feel like I'm so happy. I don't know. It's like it's
Oh,
a
yeah. There's a lot of if you if you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're
right.
happy and you know it, clap your hands. Okay, or dance around if you're happy and you know it, dance around and then. Okay,
Yeah.
so yes, this is in fact one of the moods, and so we could say that what mood is that piece of music designed to put someone into? Because the music itself is very emotional. Music is an emotional language, and when we think about music by listening to it, we are thinking thoughts that are not verbal thoughts.
Yeah.
They're feeling thoughts.
Yeah, I mean,
And,
so I'm trying to connect this one to the whole YouTube aspect of like watching YouTube videos because I noticed that.
but there is so much variety. When you say YouTube, I mean the very, very best and the very worst are all on YouTube.
No, so that's what I wanted to say. It's like when you mentioned that listening, like the playing the violin and watching that masterful violinist, that's how I relate watching your videos. Okay, when I listen to you talk, and now the
That
opposite would
thought didn't
be,
occur to me.
and the opposite, what to me is like the stuff that I have been watching today, which is just things that like really shock me or make me like cringe or like get these really emotional like oh my god like
Uh-huh.
reactions for myself.
There, okay, that actually happens in movies. That's part of the reason why people call them entertaining. I'll give you an example. I don't remember the name of it, uh, but that the scene, this is a Mel Brooks movie,
Okay.
and that Richard Pryor and I forget the other guy's name, that one's blind and the other one is deaf.
Okay.
And they go through one scene after another, but some of them are like really spellbinding things, like everything is really screwed up and confused, right? But then you recognize, well, that's what all movies are about, that they want to put you in a state of tension,
Mm-hmm.
that the horror movie wants to put you in an intense state of tension.
Yeah.
Why would you want to be in an intense state of tension? Why would you want to go to watch a movie like that? Because of the
Yeah.
resolution of that tension, the release at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm glad that's over. Well, if you're glad it's over, then why did you go through it in the first place?
Oh my god. Wow.
That's
Yeah.
the whole idea, is that it's resolution. Well, guess what? Even at a detail level, that's what happens. That in fact, there's certain pieces of music. Then I sent it around at one time to some of the students, and they didn't get the point. The point is that in this long piece of music, it went from one unresolved chord through a cadence, but when it got to the resolution, it would change keys and go off into another thing that never came to a conclusion. And after about 3 to 5 minutes of this long piece of music, it finally resolves in one chord that lasts only a short period of time, and now the thing is over. But at least it did resolve.
Hmm.
I don't think if you know about music that much, but there's cadence and resolution. Like you establish a dominant, excuse me, a bass note. Okay, like the chord of C, and
Yeah.
so you want to now piddle around with B a lot until
Mm.
you finally then resolve it to the C, which is the root note.
Okay.
That's what a lot of music is, except that music can do this within 2 to 3 to 5 seconds. A movie takes an hour of tension before it finally resolves to the end of the movie.
Exactly. Yeah.
So begin to watch that this is what we get wrapped up with. This is why oh god, Enter the Dragon, I think, is the movie where Bruce Lee goes from one floor to the next with various fighters, right? The whole point of it is with martial arts, especially Asian martial arts, which they were actually martial, military. These were striking weapons. You want to kill that guy within the first blow or two. You do not want to go 15 rounds. 15 rounds is a boxing match. It's a sport. It's entertainment. It's for people to to bet money on and feel tense and all that kind of stuff. Real martial arts is a knockout punch, and he's dead, and that's it. But movies, how long does a movie fight scene last? 15 minutes? And then for an hour movie, you need three of them at least with a little bit of dialogue here and there. You got to get a girlfriend, and you got to be uh, fighters in the beginning and lovers in the end. And meanwhile, the whole rest of the movie is just one brawl after another.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah.
and all of that tension. So, if you can look at wholesome music in that regard, wholesome music doesn't get things all tensed up in order to make a resolution. It starts off resolved.
Mm.
Everything is resolved.
Is classical music like that?
Um, about the tension and resolution, yes, that's exactly what it's all designed around.
Right.
But it's done at a and it's also it does the same thing over and over and over and over again, because that's what matches the human mind, that we like to have many verses of the same hymn.
Yeah.
Okay, so classical music is over and over and over and over again. That in fact, one of the ways of thinking, in fact, this is quite beautiful. There are four big primary violin concertos. There is the Brahms, there is the Mendelssohn, there is Tchaikovsky, and there is the Beethoven. And the top two are always, which is better, Tchaikovsky or Beethoven? But
Mm.
all four of them are very intricate. The thing about the violin concerto from Beethoven is that it seems to be more of a duet between the timpani drums and the violinist. That in fact the first thing that starts out with that the whole thing is dome, 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 and he's setting so the timpani is setting the tempo and the beat for the whole rest of the piece for the violin to dance around. All that timpani, boom, 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 boom. Quite beautiful.
Sounds like Star Wars.
Yeah. In fact, Star Wars, all the music of Star Wars is based on classical principles.
Hmm. Interesting. I feel like maybe I could get into some of that and leave behind some of the less wholesome music I've been listening to.
Hmm. Yeah, if it's joyful. This is why Beethoven's Ninth Symphony is so marvelous, is that last one called the Ode to Joy.
Hmm.
They say that that's
Joy.
his funeral song. Joyful, joyful, we adore thee. Dum, 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 dum. You probably heard that many times.
I've heard that before, yeah.
Dum, 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 da dum. Dum, 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 da da dum, 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 da da dum, 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 dum. Da da dum, da 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 dum, 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 dum.
I got a recommendation for you. Check it out. Let me see if I can find it. I might have to text it to you, but
Yeah, never mind. Send it to me a little later.
yeah, I'll send to you later. Not right now. But anyways, yeah, I think that's all the questions I had. Um, One thing I was noticing was that like when I do have like kind of we were talking in the beginning about like how there wasn't so much sati and I found myself in the dirt essentially, but it's just kind of like I wonder if there's sort of a rubber banding effect like happening where like like
It's
now
a
when I see
skill to
that,
be developed. Once you start sati and you keep practicing and practicing, it's almost like at any moment we can wake up.
yeah,
At any point, it's like a rubber band; it just snaps right back. And you want to develop that. It
yeah.
basically to wake up.
Well, I was kind of saying like when you get really in it, then it's like it's really apparent and like you really don't like it. Maybe you realize this is not going where I want to go, where I want it to go. And I gotta come back. So
Okay.
for example, like this was just one day, but before it could be days at a time where things are bad. But this was not even a day; it was just like a couple hours or less. It's like I've had enough. I'm ready to
Good.
come out.
Uh huh.
Tired of hurting myself.
Tired of hurting yourself, tired of being critical of yourself, tired of wanting things you don't have.
Sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Yeah, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. Means, oh, well, all right, I've finished now. My work is done here. I'm going to take a hike now.
That's how it felt. That's literally how it felt. Like I was watching the YouTube videos. It's like I'm enough self-torture. Enough tension build up.
Mm-hmm. That's one of the problems with movies, is that they want to get you tense.
Yeah.
So that you stay in it.
Yeah. You got to be wise. You got to see through that.
Mm-hmm.
But we should probably wrap it up. It's been quite some time here. Hour and 20 minutes.
I've enjoyed it. I've really
Same.
enjoyed. Well, I'm glad that we got all your questions out of the way too.
Yep. I'll be back next time with more probably.
All right. When we get tired of questions, then we'll get into real Dhamma. We'll see you.
Good to see you too. All right. Till next time.
Okay, Keith. Bye-bye.